This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal. Today is Saturday, January 3rd, 2026. The title of this rant is The Unintended Consequences of Waging War with Incompetence Will Be Severe. So we know that, guess what? What's happened in Venezuela. But some of the things that are going to come out and play out and will have possibly terrible things happening, not only in the U.S., not only in Venezuela, but possibly across the world, we're going to be seeing in the coming days. So let's get a few things that are understood. Number one, there was an inside job going on here. How they got Maduro that quickly and out of the country, they had help from the inside. They probably paid a lot of people off, but there also was bombings and some other stuff that went on. How many casualties were there? Were there American casualties? Were there civilian casualties? And were there military casualties on the part of Venezuela? This was all going to play out fairly soon. And of course, if there's no Maduro in there, those people on the inside, are they the ones that are going to take over? Is somebody else going to try and take over at the same time? Could there be a civil war? Could there be a civil war? And how can the United States pick sides? And if they pick sides, we going to have to send troops there to quell the war? And guess what? If someone is taking over right away, let's just say tomorrow, are they going to have a purge of everyone else that's there that, is not in agreement with them? That's what's happening in Iran right now, as all the terrible things in Iran is because the inflation is so high. They're trying to purge as many people as they can because all the other stuff is going on. What's going to go on in Venezuela when all this happens? Are we going to steal the oil? And what kind of consequences will that be? How are we going to do that? How are we going to take over? Or do we have to have military inside the country to do that? Ooh, that could be bad news. That could be some terrible news. And of course, I'm just mentioning two or three little things here. Little things, but are on the top. There's lots of other things that we're not talking about right now, 100 of them. And every time there's a consequence in war, there's a reaction. And what will happen with that reaction? Will it be a good or a bad reaction? Will it benefit the United States? Will it benefit who's ever trying to take over? Would benefit a civil war being conducted? Would it benefit another regime change in there? There's all kinds of things. Every time there's an action, there's some type of reaction. And if I'm just mentioning a couple of them, there's 100 or more out there that are going on. And, as I said, 100 or so things that can go on. We don't know what the results will be. Those are the unintended consequences. Now, let me just bring you back to a movie from the early 80s called Body Heat. Kathleen Turner wanted to get somebody killed. I forgot the name. It was Body Heat, but I knew it was by the same director as The Big Chill. But let's go to that. So she gets this guy murdered, and Mickey Rourke is there with the guy that's murdering him or going to murder him or whatever. I can't remember exactly. And Mickey Rourke says to the guy, hey, listen, with all the stuff that you're trying to do to make sure that no one catches you, there may be 50 things that you don't even think of that will get you the gas chamber or get you the electric chair or whatever. And if you're effing lucky and you're a effing genius, then guess what? You might actually be able to think of 25 of them. And guess what? Every single person at the top in Trump world, they have no idea of the unintended consequences. They have no idea they might think of those 25 things, but they didn't think of the 50 things, but there's really 1,000 things that are going to go wrong in all of this. It is just going to be terrible things. And like I said, when you don't have any, there's always unintended consequences. There's always things that are going to go wrong. And these consequences are going to be severe. And everyone at the top of the Trump regime is incompetent for the job that they have. You multiply that on top of each other because everyone is incompetent. Everything is going to go bad. And of course, all of this might be just because Trump has some type of bug up his ass that thinks that he can be, Mr. Tough Guy and all of this. So it's going to play itself out it's not going to be good. There will be severe consequences that are going to go on. How many people are going to get killed? How the regime change is going to happen? Who's going to pick up the pieces? Are there going to have to be troops on the ground in there? All of this stuff. Now, I want to point out another, this is how terrible this is going to go. Was this done to get us away from the Epstein files? Was this done so that Trump doesn't have to help Ukraine? Was this done because Trump knows that he is terminally ill and wants something big for himself before he croaks? All of these things are coming into play. There was no speaking to Congress about this. There was no speaking to the American people about this. There was no speaking to our allies about this. This was done on happenstance, on a whim. Yes, they did put a lot of troops over there, ships over there, etc. But there was really no afterthought as to what was going to go on from this. And again, this is going to play itself out. It's not going to be a short-term thing. It's going to be a long thing. They're going to cover up as much as they possibly can. At the same time, no Epstein, they're going to gloss over. We can't do it with the Epstein files now because we got this going on. So all of this is going into play, and there are terrible things that are going to come out of this. And there is an election coming up, and we need to vote blue. Yes, we need to vote blue straight down the ticket, because waging war because you have a grudge against somebody, no, that's not the way it's done. And the American people will see how totally incompetent all of these people are at the top, especially the one at the ultimate top. Vote blue, and vote blue straight down the ticket. Vote blue unendingly and forevermore, because this is what the Republican Party is really all about, because most of them are going to back him up on this.